Hello guys, my name is Amit Sani and I welcome you in this daily Hindu analysis video. In the morning these videos come, and in the evening my sir is taking the MCQ course there. So very important help is available on the premium platform, and today we are going to discuss a very important article on data protection bill. Other details are also there, so let's start the lesson. These two numbers are given. For any confusion, any query, you can solve here calling on these numbers, and that PDF you will get on Telegram channel, whose link is given on the Facebook group here. First issue, NPR, house to house verification planned. You see, the government proposes to update the National Population Register. You see, this exercise was started in 2010. For the first time, the NPR exercise was there in 2010. The data was updated after 5 years in 15 year, and the phrase of population register that appeared in the citizenship rules 2003, as we discussed yesterday. So the rules, they mandate that you prepare a citizenship register, and the Registrar General of India is mandated for that particular maintenance, and the database of the population register, that will also be scrutinized and will be used in that exercise. So the link is surely there, but the confusion is spread very well. The protests are going on. 20 people, more than 22 people, I think, they have been killed in this these protests. So now many updates are coming, many articles are coming. Today the data is that two additional details will be collected in this new NPR exercise. So from April to September 2020, the census exercise will be done. So the census exercise is clubbed with this register there, and in 2010 they collected the data on 15 parameters. Now two additional details will be there, and they are related to the last place of residence, fathers and mothers birthplace there, and some other details like Aadhaar number, voter ID card number, mobile phone numbers, they will also be taken here. So the manual was created for that, and this manual was prepared before the pre-test exercise. You see, this pre-test exercise was conducted in September this year, and they sought additional details also. Okay, you can see the manual was confirmed by the Hindu newspaper, as the writer says, and they say that the details are given here, and the best judgment will also be applicable for the officials, because it is very difficult to ascertain about the age for some candidates. Poor people are there, some challenged people are also there. Very vulnerable conditions are there in this country. The poverty is really a menace, so it is not very easy to even collect the data from the people. Sometimes people do not remember, sometimes people do not know, and maybe they are struggling with some mental issues and all. So many difficulties they may find. So that's why the best judgment will also be applicable here. Okay, and you can see they will be asked questions, and the officials will try to gather the best information there. They will cite some examples that if the old people, they remember the First World War, or the Dani March, or the Independence Day, or the Chinese War, Pakistan War, Bangladesh creation, Asian Games, India's first win in the Cricket World Cup there. So if any of them they remember, then they can present some good data for that. So this is the issue, and many more issues, articles will keep coming on this exercise, because it's a huge one, and the whole debate is running around the same topic there. Now many issues are going simultaneously, like the census operation, and the NPR population register issue, the NRC confusions there, and the CAA protests are going on. The CAA is now an act, and in this ongoing controversy, MHA publishes a document where they say that removal of 370 and CAA, they are the biggest feats for the government this year. So let's see what comes there, and many articles we are going to discuss on this issue. Next, new Wagon to boost cargo capacity. In 11th 5-year plan, they started dedicated freight corridors, and by the completion of next year they must be operational. two important corridors are being developed: Western Freight Corridor and the Eastern Freight Corridor. You can see in the map, Western Corridor starts from Dadri near Delhi, and it will go till JNPT Mumbai, Jawaharlal Nehru Port Trust of India. And this is the busiest route for the freight corridor, because Delhi is the capital, Mumbai is the economic capital there, and all the industry and all these areas are really progressive. So this is important. Eastern corridor starting from Ludhiana, and it will go till Dankuni, West Bengal. So this is a well-informed issue. This freight corridor runs for 1500 kilometers, and 1800 kilometers is the length for Eastern corridor. Western corridor funded by Japan's Zika agency, and this is partially by World Bank there. So new wagons will be running on these corridors, and their speeds will go up to 100 kilometers per hour. Right now the average is just 26 kilometers per hour. It will go up to 70 kilometers per hour on average. So the speed will be 2-3 times, and the length, or you may say the volume they will take on these corridors, that will be rising by 4-fold. So it's a great development, and this was extremely needed for the fast process there. And if you talk about the development, these are the issues that we need today. So the new wagons will be called BLCS type A and B wagons, and currently a prototype this is being tried there on these corridors there. So DFCCIL, Dedicated Freight Corridor Corporation of India Limited, it's a PSU, and registered as a company under Companies Act 1956. So it is tasked with building the corridors there. Over 81,000 crore rupees is the cost, and they started testing these new wagons to boost the cargo carrying capacity there. In Tiruchirappalli, Tamil Nadu, the Golden Rock Railway Workshop is there, and there they were manufactured. And RDSO, the same body which we discussed in the Train 18 project, Vande Bharat project also. So the RDSO, Research, Design and Standards Organization, has set these designs and the particular parameters which should be there with these wagons. So it has approved that. So this will go for the trials till January 26, 2020, and if these are finally approved by RDSO, then they will be manufactured commercially as the industrial requirements there. So the question may be asked regarding the manufacturing of these wagons, BLCS wagons as we are calling them. This name can be asked, and the freight corridors there, they're financing the DFCCIL. So I have given you MCQ today. First, DFCCIL has been designated by the Government of India as a special purpose vehicle for all these purposes, for these dedicated freight corridors. Yes, this is correct. They have designated it as a SPV. Second, World Bank is fully funding both East and West dedicated freight corridors. No, only the partial funding is there for the East corridor. West corridor is funded by Japanese agency. Okay, so only one is the correct option here. You can see the details. Registered as a company under Companies Act 1956 in 2006, and a PSU under Ministry of Railways there, and it is enabler for other schemes also. We are talking about DFCCIL, Dedicated Freight Corridor Corporation of India Limited, which is actually taking this whole freight corridor project. And Zika, Japanese International Cooperation Agency, is funding the Western corridor, and the Eastern is partially funded by World Bank there. The freight carrying capacity will rise from existing 1200 to 2000 million tons per year. So this is huge. And one more East dedicated freight corridor, East Coast corridor, is being discussed. It's again huge, 1100 kilometers long stretch, and one of the busiest route there. 44,000 crore is the cost, and funding will come from multilateral agencies. So annually it would carry 200 million ton freight there. So the construction work on the corridor will begin only after the DFCC delivers the 3,300 kilometer long eastern and western freight corridors there. So the work will start after their operationalization. Okay, next issue, we discussed the auction proposal for 8,300 megahertz of airwaves, the spectrum there. So that is going on, and under that 35% of the spectrum is there for the 5G services. Now some additional spectrum for 5G services will be put on sale towards the end of 2020. That's a new proposal, and Department of Telecommunication will soon seek the TRAI's recommendation on the auction of spectrum in the 24.75 to 27.25 gigahertz band. So this is highly suitable for the 5G services there. So these are new developments, and they may ask you about those things because 5G issue is very controversial, very unique, very interesting, and it is going to be a big enabler there. The speed is enormous, and Huawei company's issue is based on the 5G services. You see, Huawei company is giving the cheapest service out there, so it is the major contender, but it is countered by Americans there. Huawei is the Chinese company. America has put many obligations, many allegations, many troubles for Huawei company there. The CFO was arrested from the Canadian airport there. So what not happened in the 5G and Huawei issue? And America also threatens other countries who are inviting Huawei company in their markets out there. So America would never want Huawei company to give its services in India, but we are inviting. We have received applications from Ericsson, Samsung, Nokia, Huawei, ZTE and 2 others for 5G trials there. So we will see, we will evaluate actually each of them to discuss what are their plans and what they see in the future and what are our conditions, how we fulfill them. This is all will be discussed here. So many more articles will come on this issue. It is a huge one. Next, again a very interesting information. We had discussed this announcement. Now it's official. China, Russia and Iran, they will hold naval drills in the Gulf of Oman. A joint naval drill will be there, an attempt to deepen cooperation between the 3 navies. And we know the actual target is USA, because all 3 countries are in a way enemy to USA today. So it will take place from December 27 to 30, and this exercise aims to deepen the cooperation and the exchange between the navies of 3 countries. So Chinese Navy would deploy its guided missile destroyer carrier killer, so it will show the best quality out there. And for Iran is way more important. Iran is getting the support of China and Russia, 2 giants there, and it was tortured by Americans a lot. We all know about that, and a lot of sanctions were put there. It is facing many domestic problems, economic problems there, and in this time this is a huge support there. So it's very happy there. We all know it's obvious thing. Chinese foreign minister said that the exercises were part of normal military cooperation between the 3 countries there. So bigger articles will come on this issue. It's a strategic issue, it's a geostrategic issue, and a very unique development there. This exercise is happening for the first time, and it's a unique cooperative development against America out there. America is being challenged in all the platforms, and the involvement of America in all these disturbances in the Middle East and all, and the rivalry with China, the trade war with China, and the conventional rivalry with the Russians. These things are clubbed now, and they all are finding new directions there. Next article which we are going to discuss, this is also about the situation of Afghanistan, where US was involved there. You see, the elections are over. They fell into many controversies. Right now many allegations are there that that the voter fraud was there, allegation of setting is there, and many irregularities some parties are alleging. But Ashraf Ghani has won more than 50% votes out there, and the chief rival Dr. Abdullah, the former chief executive officer there, he has rejected the preliminary results there. Means the election process is now not finalized, you may say, because they will go for the second rounds also, most probably. So the situation is still unstable, but the elections were important. UN was involved in this exercise. The stabilization of this area is of utmost importance, and we in this region are focusing on this issue very keenly, because the stability in Afghanistan is crucial for the regional peace. Otherwise, these groups and their network will be way more stronger, and Afghanistan will be a safe haven for these groups, and the people of Afghanistan will suffer a lot. That's the truth. So whatever America's role there, we cannot be sure about that, what it wants and how it is taking the issues, but surely the democratic process, the establishment of the democracy there, and the right election process and the proper government is needed there. And we already have congratulated Ashraf Ghani out there. So it was very early, because countries like US and others, they have holded their response. They have even said that the formalities are left, the process is not finalized yet. We do not know who is gonna win the election there and who is gonna rule on Afghanistan. But for sure, the whole world does not want Taliban to be the ruling entity there. Okay, so that's the issue. So some issues of low voter turnout and these allegations are going on, and the instability continues in the region. But we have congratulated Ashraf Ghani. That's the main deal here, and it will be in everyone's interest, particularly the Afghans who braved violent attacks, to go out and vote. If the remaining steps of the election process are completed at the earliest, then the democracy is reaffirmed in Afghanistan region. And you see, this example should be set there, because a lot has happened in this region, and especially in this country of Afghanistan, which is totally out of the developmental process and the peace process there. Okay, next, this issue was important for GS paper 2, obviously. Next, cracks in the relic, again an international situation. You see, NATO was established in countering Soviet Union's dominance there, and US and Turkey, these two are big countries. And you see, US and Turkey are the largest and second largest standing armies of NATO. US the largest, Turkey is the second largest. Now these two are fighting consistently. Two important problems were there. First, Fethullah Gulen, he is a US based Turkish Islamic preacher, and he is accused by Ankara of orchestrating the failed 2016 coup against Mr. Erdogan. So Mr. Erdogan wants him in Turkey and he wants to execute him, that's for sure. But this request was refused by Washington there. They never sent him to Turkey. This was the first problem. Second problem, the bigger problem there, where Americans supported Kurds who fought the war against the ISIS fighters there, and they actually won that war. So they were trained and they were supported by the Americans. The weapons were given by Americans to them, and Turkey considers them as terrorists and the problem creator for the whole country of Turkey there. So Erdogan does not want Kurds, but America supported them. So that's why the controversy stretched further, and Ankara alleged that Americans are outsiders here, what they are doing in our region, why they are creating so much disturbance there, and they are totally dominating this area, and this is never acceptable to us. So many sharp remarks were there, and the Trump administration was the target for Erdogan there. So since then the problems are stretching. Now Turkey moved closer to Russia, and the well-known S-400 missile system that is taken by Turkey now. The deal is finalized, and this is very, very offensive for Americans, because it is the Russian system. Turkey is the NATO ally, and they are taking the advanced S-400 missile system there from Russia. So this is very, very offensive for Americans. So they are planning to bring all the sanctions against Turkey there, and Turkey is defying all these moves. Now, one more crucial issue is there. Turkey threatens America there that we will shut down two important bases there. The more important Incirlik air base there, which is very critical facility for Americans in West Asia, and the Kursk radar base would also be shut down there if the sanctions will be put on Turkey. So US is threatening Turkey for sanctions, and now Turkey is replying there. So some things which happened with the Iranians, now Turkey is at the same risk there. Both were allies, they are still NATO allies there, but the rift is very apparent, and this development is not good because already the Middle East is totally disturbed, and one by one all the countries were targeted there, and what not is happening there, we all know about that. So from Morocco, Libya till Yemen, the devastation was deeply planned, it looks like that, and Iran, Afghanistan, in every situation Americans were there, and Russia was also there. So the proxy wars and the disturbed situation there, this is all apparent there, and now a new streak is starting in Turkey. So we have to see what developments will follow here. Many articles will come on this issue because if the Americans are going to reply to Turkey now and the sanctions will follow, then the problem can be very huge. Important for GS paper 2 here. And the details are given here, and the issue of F-35 program. As I told you, S-400 system Turkey is going to buy from Russians. Now America has announced that Turkey is out of the F-35 program. We are never going to give F-35 planes to Turkey there. So this is also a part of the problem there. Now the main article today, it is regarding the data protection bill. Writer Apar Gupta says that a culmination of flawed policy proposals, this piece of legislation will refine, store and trade personal information. So the economic angle is also there. How government can take the data, how the authorities are allowed for that, and how that data, which is a personal data, can be used for the fiscal gains also. And the privacy is a totally a torn fabric there. The promise is not fulfilled there because the right to privacy is the fundamental right as it was upheld by the Supreme Court. So in the continuing social churn and widespread citizen protest, it would seem out of place to direct thought towards issues such as data protection there. Who is discussing this crucial bill? This went through the serpentine movement there. It was passed through expert committees, central ministries, and then Lok Sabha. In Lok Sabha, it was introduced there in the winter session there. So the details were to be focused, but who discussed this issue? We are all busy with these unnecessary issues, and controversies were created. Now the protests are there. More than 22 people are killed till date. So what not is happening on the Indian scenario? But this very crucial and important data protection bill, which we needed to scrutinize, which we needed to evaluate, and which we were supposed to go into the details, that is not happening. But the Hindu is fulfilling this responsibility, because when the confusion and chaos remains, then this is something we need, and that is the facts. Only facts are gonna help. Only the proper discussion on the needed issue is needed there. So securitization and revenue, the rise of national security narrative. We know this is all about national security narrative all over this country, all over the media, and they are suppressing all other crucial debates, data and everything, and it is never appropriate to create this kind of narrative where all issues are sidelined, because the national security can never remain strong if the economy is not proper for a country. The people are disturbed, and the economic slowdown is there, problems are there, law and order is not proper, then never you can maintain the national security there, because the whole world is watching you. Now this security narrative has been clubbed with the technology, and that's the interesting development. So its intersection with the technology is the main issue here. This is central to several policy and political pronouncements by the present government. As if you see their manifesto, 2019's manifesto, the Sankalp Patra there, the privacy is mentioned just once. 49 mentions of security, 56 mentions of technology. What that means they do not want to talk about the privacy issue for citizens, but they want to know everything, and they do not want to tell anything about themselves. Like the election bond issue, they brazenly said that we will not give you any information regarding the funders and the funded parties. Here, if we talk about other examples there, then President of India's address to joint sitting of Parliament on June 20th, he proclaimed that my government is committed to that very idea of nation building, the foundation of for which was laid in 2014. So note this sentence, my government, president is talking here. And in that whole discourse, the mention of privacy or data protection was zero, no mention of that, but 18 mentions of security and 8 of technology. So all are on this narrative. Just the talk of security, because this is working very well for the government, because the security is the prime issue there. But they have established this narrative like that security is just one thing we need, nothing else. If you talk about Prime Minister's Independence Day speech, then 0 mention of privacy or data protection, 7 mentions of security, 6 mentions of technology, and 5 for Digital India. So security, technology, and Digital India, totally they are clubbed, and no mention of right of privacy there. Edward Snowden explains in his permanent record there that there is a symbolic relationship between the financial model of large online platforms and the security interest there. They both feed off personal data and attention economy, where platforms gather this data and the government then seeks access to it. And that is happening all over the world, and in India stuff further is happening. They are not only having the access of the data, they are collecting it, they are exploiting it, and making it an active data trader for the generation of revenue to meet its fiscal goals now. And this is really problematic also. Recently, the open example was there. The official data is available that the Ministry of Highways, they sold the vehicle registration data. Means that was the personal data. It was in their power and authority that they could collect this data easily, because mandatorily we had to give this information. So the responsibility, ethical responsibility was there for the government that they keep this data private, but they have given it to companies now. They have sold it off. So they are now selling the private data of people, and openly they are selling it, and they are saying that we have earned this much revenue there. So the data is the revenue earner for the government, and this is really problematic. The scale of data collection is ambitious and broadly contained in the Digital India program there. In the views of some technologists, this also fulfills geostrategic goals when personal data is viewed as strategic state source, because this is the resource there really. And certainly it poses the greatest risk to the right to privacy. This is the promise there, the constitutional promise there. But they are not even caring about this issue. You talk about the economic survey of 19, the whole chapter is there on the fiscal approach towards the personal data, and 2 tangible examples they are giving. One example that I've told you, that they sold the vehicle registration data, and this is really conflicting to the main constitutional process promise there, that the right to privacy is the fundamental right there. And the issue of community data, where it's plainly obvious this is again to serve fiscal interest of the state and technology businesses, when it states that such data is critical for economic advantage. Means they are now spreading this issue as an important need for the state, that the data will earn money for the state, and they are running out of the revenue there. So now they are using the private data to earn there. But what are the consequences? consequences are huge and they are negative. The people are always harassed by these companies when they have their phone numbers, their data and all. And now this is the security issue. The biometric data is available, means if they are selling the vehicle registration data, then Aadhaar data is also at risk. And the biometric data is at risk, means once somebody has taken, then this is all with them forever. And the biometric data cannot be changed for any person, and that's why the risk is huge here. And the muddled formulations, why the writer took it as muddled formulation? Because you see the existing draft, this is reflective of the political economy that is motivated towards ensuring minimal level of protection for the personal data, and they contain broad exemptions in favor of security and fiscal interest. First it was security, that is the prime issue there in this country. The narrative has been created there. Now the fiscal interest also, without the control of the people over their own data, they are using it as an instrument to earn revenue there. And the issue of data nationalism, where you are going to write a mains question today for 250 words, comment on the data nationalization issue. The data nationalism issue means the data is a new nationalism discourse. It should stay in our borders, the servers should be there in our borders. This is really a beneficial idea, but a very dangerous idea also. If there is a proper democratic government, if they are taking care about all the autonomy of the institution, if they are giving the right to privacy to the people, and they are focusing on the economy, and this is all a progressive idea, they are never going to misuse any data, and they are not using any data to control the people there, then if the servers are located within India, and these things are there in our control, then it is the best one. But are the governments ideal in countries? Are they not misusing any data? Their apparent examples are there. And suppose a government goes on an authoritarian way, they will surely demand this thing, that the servers are located within our borders, so that they can control everything. They can control the media there, they can control the internet there, because the media you can say that is in control, total control today in India, but the internet media is not. So if any government becomes authoritative, then one thing they need is the control, and the control over internet is very difficult today, because the internet governance is not in our hands today. So that is why the data nationalism issue is a new talk of the town in the political spheres there, and the government surely wants that thing. So from its very preamble in this particular bill, it seeks to place the privacy interest of the individuals on the same footing as those of businesses and state, because they are not caring about the fundamental right of the people there. They are taking it as a source. And principle of data protection to actualize the fundamental right to privacy is not fulfilled as a primary goal, but is conditioned from the very outset. As we see, they do not mention the privacy issue there. 49 times they talk about the security, 56 times they talk about the technology, but they do not mention the data protection there and the right of privacy there. So this is all intentional and the indicative issue. Now you talk about the goals. What is the title there? It is Data Protection Bill. But is there any protection? Actually they are removing the protection there. So there are conflicting and contradictory goals in this discourse. Ultimately, it will ensure a weak data protection law, and this is the right statement by the writer there. And as this is apparently clear that 9 judges bench declared the right to privacy as a fundamental right, and this is totally violative of that. So it's a big disappointment. And draft serves as a political economy which at first blush appears attractive in its promise of taking us away from the dull maximum of constitutionalism and delivering a digital utopia. Means what they are saying indirectly here, we have to read between the lines and we have to see their indications there. What Prime Minister said in 2015, he said technology is advancing citizen empowerment and democracy that once drew their strength from constitution. Means now the power source will shift from the constitution towards technology. This is something good if the ideal situation is there, but this is very dangerous if governments are not working according to the needs of the nation. If the governments are trying to become authoritative, then this sentence is very dangerous. Means they are undermining the importance of the constitution there and the constitutional rights there. This and the constitutional empowerment of the people. This is a very important issue. So you may ask, you may be asked, or you may write an important question here also. A statement I'm giving you. Compare the empowerment of the people because of the technology with the empowerment of the people from the constitution there. There can be a good answer there because these all examples will be applicable there. Okay. So in the end, the writer said that it will refine, store and then trade the personal information of Indians without their control, open for sale, open for appropriation to the interest of securitization or revenue maximization with the minimal level of protection. This is something is apparently clear as a conclusion of this data protection draft there. So we have to focus on redlining there and the final text of the draft, and we have to discuss the intents and the objectives also, because the intent is the bigger problem today and the biggest problem today for any scheme, for any announcement, for any approach there. So this is all for today. We will meet again tomorrow. Thanks a lot. Keep watching. It was